I don't even know what you doing, bro. I don't even know what you doing.
All right, peace, family. Um, so I'm doing a video series on how to self-publish 2020. For the authors, writers, if you want to put out your own book, I'm doing a whole video series on how to do that. In this video, I'm talking about how I went about organizing uh, all my writing, all my poetry, to kind of compose my book. So, just for starting off, like if you have everything written in journals, start reading through all your journals. And what I did, like, we talking about 5 journals. This is a journal, this is a journal, this is a journal, this is a journal. What I did, I just read through all of them, and whichever piece I was like, wow, like that's some fire shit. Whatever piece I saw like that, I just bent the page, kept reading, and then once I finished reading throughout all the books, I just went back, did a process of elimination throughout all the ones that I folded, and then through there I kind of composed my theme. Like reading through 4 poetry books, that was probably like two years of my life at the time. Now I'm going through journals like it's nothing, but at the time, this was like my junior year of college, like a year ago now. Yeah, facts. Like I read through all my journals that I had up to that point, and once I started, getting together the ones I was gonna put in the book, that's how it helped me compose my theme. So when I'm reading back on everything, just in terms of my life at that point, it was very low self-esteem, very depressive, self-conscious, like, like, bro, get out your bag, bro. Like, so, like, just to break it down, my book was called Bozo. I released it in 2019 as a poetry book, and I was on some bozo shit. Like, you'd be surprised at how much you have going for you, but at the time I wasn't aware of that. So all my poetry was just like, yo, I'm tired of this shit, like low self-esteem, social anxiety, all of that, So, but reading that helped me compose my book. And something you're gonna realize about this process when it comes to liberating your expression, right? When it comes to expressing yourself in your art, like once you do this, it's gonna be like a weight off your shoulders, for real. And it's like you'll be surprised how many people you help, by doing that. Even if it was so like down, like negative. I don't want to say negative, but it was just like, it wasn't very uplifting. Maybe hopeful because like I'm gonna get to that, but like it helped me compose my theme. I realized, yo, I'm on some bozo shit. I'm not the most confident. I'm not realizing that I have a lot more going for me than I think. Like you'll be surprised by how much you have going for you. You'll be surprised by how much talent you got if you just apply yourself. And just very self-conscious, low self-esteem, not confident, all of that, right? Semen retention. So then I put everything together, and then that helped me compose my theme. All of these, self-conscious poetry helped me compose my theme for Bozo. But then in terms of organizing the flow of the book, like the whole book couldn't be just me like venting on some negative shit. So it had to have the arc to it, the rising, falling, action, climax. And then so what I concluded it on was a very hopeful, positive, uplifting poem called From the Light to Confusion, right? So how I went, so once you have everything organized, you have a rough idea of the theme, you have a idea of the flow. If you have it in journals or in your notes on your phone, you're gonna want to transfer it to the computer, right? So you're gonna want to go on Google Docs or Microsoft Word. So I use Google Docs. And then if it's a chapter book, like same thing if you're doing a nonfiction, fiction, fantasy, drama, thriller, just have everything organized, like, and start constructing that flow. Start constructing the beginning, the end, and then from there you just put the guts and all of that, right? So what I did, I put it on Google Docs, and then you just organize it. This is an individual poem. This is a poem. This is a poem. If you have a chapter book, this will be chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You want everything organized. How I went about just kind of doing the flow, I had my poems, and then I had little 1-sentence sayings that I used to indicate chapters, right? So here's a chapter. Your ex don't like you, keep working. So how I went about that, if I'm talking about my ex or whatever, it's gonna be about love poems. So then from that chapter, I had these few poems to go into it, right? Let me see. Boom. Individual poem. I hope. Let me zoom in a little bit. Boom. That's a poem. This is a poem. Its own poem. Its own poem. Poem. Right. Poem. Right. Poem. Poem. Everything organized. Everything in its own little thing. Right. Where's another little chapter? So that's what I did. I did from my phone. I had little maybe one sentence quotes or whatever. I would just use that as the chapter to indicate certain things, and that helped me build up my structure. Table contents is key. Gap pages I used gap pages to kind of just break up the structure of one chapter ending and a new chapter beginning. So here will be a gap page and then the new chapter starts, right? So we are all amidst the precipice of our lives. So I was talking about coming to age, me growing up, coming into myself, realizing myself, which was part of the whole being self-conscious and like unsure of my future, but that helped me, build my book, right? Dedication page if you would like to, just to kind of give praise to the people that help you on your journey, right? Individual poem. I said about the gap pages, right? Where's another little quote I used? So, and these little quotes, again, I used to indicate a new chapter was beginning. But that's what I did. Sociology, your whole life based around stigmatized thought. That quote indicated that the new section is going to be talking about social issues. So I went through some poems that I had that I felt was touching on certain social issues, and that's how I broke it down. Another way I organized it, I just wrote everything out, right? So I got one of these yellow pads, right? And what I did, I just wrote every poem out. Make sure you have poem titles or your chapter titles. And you just want to structure. If you're doing a chapter book, right? Okay, chapter 1, and then write some bullet points. All right, in this chapter, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about Nancy does this in this chapter. Character development for this character in this chapter, right? You just want to organize. But for what I did for my poetry, I wrote it all out. Right? I wrote the section chapter title. Then I wrote the poems that would go in that section, in that chapter. And I would just rearrange it, organize it, cross things out, write it again, right? That was for the beginning of the book, right? And once I established the beginning, I had an idea. And once I reviewed over all my poems, I had an idea on which one I felt was the best to end the book on, But in terms of the insides of it, in terms of the middle parts, I just wrote it all out. Boom, this is a section. And then I wrote what poems will go in that section. I just wrote it all out. The page numbers, I just had a rough idea in my mind of what I wanted to do, right? And I just wrote it all out on a yellow pad. You can do this in your phone. And I just rearranged it. This goes there. Okay, I don't want that to go there. Let me put it somewhere else. All of that. And I just did that, right? And this is something you could do just to keep yourself organized. Definitely when it comes to self-publishing a book, you want to have a timeline. You want to have a system. You want to have an organized approach to how you do it. So this is just what I did. What else can I touch on? Yeah, images of when Tetsuo was on the bridge and his guts fell out. This was talking about kind of me just spilling my guts. If I'm talking about all this depressive things, like it was just me pouring myself out, But then that section helped set up the next section. If I already just poured all myself out, how am I going to fill myself back in? So then the rest of the book, this was around the middle of the book. The rest of the book was me kind of talking about my spiritual journey, my spirituality, and I was using some poems that I had that I felt fit that topic. And then I got to the ending, which was a positive note, conclude the book, and then like I said, the weight is off your shoulders, and it's a beautiful thing. Let me see. So yeah, I was on that bozo shit. I did it through Kindle Direct Publishing. What else can I talk about? Let me see. And yeah, that's just what you want to do. Definitely, if you're writing a book, make sure it's written, right? Make sure you organize any structure in it. And this could go for anything. If you're doing chapter book, nonfiction, fiction, if you're doing a self-help book, just write out, okay, this chapter here, some bullet points on what's going to go in that chapter. This poem here, this poem here, this poem here. And then just kind of make sure you got a flow to it. Make sure there's a flow to it, right? And then once you get it all organized, the theme will start presenting itself to you. And, the flow of it will come up, and then how you want to set it up is how you want to set it up. I provided some examples, but, good luck to y'all. Peace. You already know.